Powered by Riverside.
Welcome everyone. This is Wally Wallaceck, and you are listening to the That's Too Bad podcast. All right, let's dive into it. Fourth and final major 2024 season is here. The Open Championship at Royal Troon, starting off here. Today's Tuesday, so starting off here Thursday, just less than 2 days now. Can't believe that the fourth major's here already. It's season has gone by extremely quickly. It just feels like only a few weeks ago it was Scottie absolutely dominating the Masters at Augusta. And I mean, so like let's kind of just sum up what we've seen so far leading up to the last major here. And I mean, a lot has happened this year. PGA Tour, the Live Tour, and so forth. So we're only going to really highlight the big topics, especially through the majors. First, like I said, Scottie Scheffler absolutely dominating the field at Augusta. It really wasn't a contest. I mean, at that point, going into Sunday, it was really just playing for second and third, and so forth. And Scottie just has had an incredible year all year round, right? So, why not, highlight the fact that he's got the green jacket. But what's I think also kind of interesting, at least going into the fourth major here, something I saw earlier this week is that he hasn't played in 4 weeks. Now I don't know if this is just natural. He needed some time off. I mean, he's won a couple times already on tour this year, plus winning the green jacket. He's become a father. End of May, beginning of June, something around there. And he's been arrested right before his round in the second major of the year, and released and made his tee time, really in the nick of time with barely any of a warm up. So does it make sense? Maybe this guy needs 4 weeks off because he's gone through the ringer this year, and like I said, he's a new dad, so obviously not getting a lot of sleep back home, I'm sure. Or could this potentially hurt him? Could the swing be a little off? Well, see what happens on the first day on Thursday here. Knowing Scottie, not personally, just watching him, throughout the last few years, this guy can take some time off and he will come back like he hadn't taken any time off. So I think he'll be up there. Obviously, he's number one in the world for a reason, and I would expect him to not, or to be, in contention. I don't think he's going to win, but I do think he'll be up there in the top 10, maybe top 15. If we had consistent world golf rankings, combining the PGA and Live Tour, this guy I think would be number 2 in the world right now, right behind Scottie, and that's Bryson. And if there's a guy that's had an incredible season up to date, I mean, Scottie Scheffler's got a bunch of wins. He's got the Masters. He doesn't have, I don't think, the same pedigree in the other majors that Bryson has as far as where did he finish. Scottie's been up there, definitely. But if we go through Bryson so far this year, I mean, going into the Masters, he blew up towards the end of Saturday. So, I mean, he was up there in the top 2, 3. After Saturday's front 9, and then he blew up on the back 9, and then really blew up Sunday. Still ends up finishing I think it was like tied for 6th. Then we go to the PGA Championship, and he comes up runner-up against Xander Schauffele. And another aspect where Bryson was just one bad hole away from winning a PGA Championship. Come to the U.S. Open, third major of the year, and Bryson is one of those where he was just itching closer, and he came out and just played phenomenal golf and ends up winning the U.S. Open. in his second major of his career. So I mean, if you look at it, just the overall where he's placed in the first three majors, he's played extremely well on the Live Tour this year too, and really he's just kind of been like a huge plus and kind of a good side of golf these days. He's big in on his YouTube page now and social media, which has been kind of fun to watch. If you've gotten to take a look, I mean, he's doing wacky videos. He's playing rounds of golf with some of these big time golf social media personnel. He's playing with kids clubs that he bought from Walmart and stuff like that, trying to make birdie on a par five. I mean, just the different things he's always done different things compared to other players. The way he's practiced and worked out, and he was once skinny, then he looked like he could play middle linebacker next to Ray Lewis, and now he's back to a little bit slender. Just the guy, but then he's still pounding the ball 350, 375, almost 400. And then I think the wildest thing, but it's not even a shocker. I mean, so we know many years ago, Bryson had this phenomenon that all his club lengths are going to be the same length, which is extremely different. You don't see that. I mean, this guy is a wizard, scientist, mathematics, whatever you want to, whatever he was majoring at back at SMU. The guy is actually very intelligent. And what does he do? He designs his own irons with a 3D printer, gets them approved by the USGA and so forth. I don't know if I can't remember if it was right before the PGA Championship or whatever, or if it was a different tournament. Gets him approved, and here he is. He's now won a U.S. Open, and was a runner-up at the PGA. So I mean, Bryson has always done it his way, and I mean it fits, whether you agree with it or not, whether you like it or not. I mean, and that's one of the biggest things too, is that Bryson has always not let the media and all the background noise influence who he is and how he plays the game. It's kind of why I kind of went back. This year I've jumped back on the Bryson bandwagon fan club a little bit. I lost faith in him, not so much faith, but I really lost the drive to like watch him play the last couple years. I think right before he went to Live, and it was just because it was getting a little. I think um, it's kind of getting ridiculous. If I had to be personally honest here, and it's really because I think the way he thinks about certain things, um, certain tournaments. He was bringing in so many rules officials trying to get just a little bit of an edge. Interpreting a rule one way versus a different way, and whether it worked out in his advantage or not. Whatever, it's all behind us now. Was reasons that I was kind of starting to like really kind of like not liking to watch him, and always has been slow on the greens because he's looking at it from all these different angles. He's doing math in his head to calculate speed, velocity, uh, angle of attack, break, and all this stuff to make a putt. And in this modern era of sports, not just golf, where everybody wants to speed everything up, I mean, he's from tee to green. Obviously, he's got to be one of the quickest because he hits it so far. But when he's on the green, that time really drops off because of how long he's taking. Now, fast forward to this year, though, it's just been a lot different. Is he taking his sweet ass time on the greens? Probably, but he's not as bad, I think, as he was a couple years ago. But what I've really enjoyed watching about Bryson is that his interaction throughout tournaments with the fan base. And we've seen him throw golf balls to a kid who it was almost like a baseball game. An older dude just snatched it and he stopped, got a police officer, and has the police officer get the guy because the ball was for the kid. And he stopped and he's taking pictures, he's signing stuff, he's saying hello to different fans along the way throughout big tournament that he's trying to win not only a major tournament here added to his resume and his pedigree, but winning a good chunk of change too at the same time. I mean, this is obviously his profession. This isn't a hobby. So that lighter side of Bryson has really gotten me to enjoy watching him again. I mean, it's kind of how it's always been for me with like I've always been an Ian Poulter fan, but when he got into Instagram, I think I've just really liked watching him even more, even though he's not winning and all this stuff. And he's a lot older, obviously, but his just social media presence is now just been way different than what Ian Poulter used to be back, right? Where you just waited for him to blow up, throw a club, break a club, whatever was the case, in whatever ridiculous outfit he wore back then. Phil Mickelson, another guy, just been huge on Instagram and different, TikToks and stuff like that, and I think has really changed his demeanor a little bit towards the fan base, at least especially for me, and a lot of other guys too. I mean, the social media aspect that you hear two sides of it, that social media really does dictate and control a lot of people's lives, but in this aspect of golf, I think it has really benefited the players to show the fans a lighter side of them, or even the behind the scenes, like some of these guys and how they practice and they warm up or whatever, get their prep, or just seeing what they do on a daily basis, family life and stuff like that. Stuff that you probably aren't thinking about, but now you have social media, you have the Netflix series, different YouTube pages and stuff like that. I think has really helped. I don't want to say it's really helped the game of golf so much as I think it's really helped the players themselves. It obviously has helped the game of golf reaching out to and expanding their fan base, but like I said, I think it's really impacted the player side of it, I think, a little bit more. U.S. Open, what do we also see? So moving to my third topic here, and that was Rory McIlroy at the U.S. Open falling just short by missing a short putt. And I think we talked about it on my last podcast, or possibly posted a video on Instagram or whatever. Not so much that I'm upset that he missed the putt and Bryson won. I'm not a Rory hater by any means. It's just, here we are almost 10 years completely through, and he just keeps falling short at major tournaments. It's just been an ongoing saga here for Rory. And, I feel for him. It's got to be frustrating. You come out back in the mid 2000s and you're projected to be really like the next Tiger Woods and really dominate professional golf, for the next 20 something years. And he really did. I mean, he did come out lights out, and then he's just been in this roadblock for the last 10 years. But he's also done a lot of big things now for the game of golf, right? So, that stuff kind of, I think, from our perspective, might balance each other out. I know in his mind, he wants to get the next major. I think it's grinds his gears a little bit that he sees like Rahm and Koepka, and now DeChambeau's got 2, so he's getting closer to Rory's 4, and I think it's just the way, how Rory's resume leading up to right now. If you brought that to any other newer fan, they would probably guess he's got 5, 6, 7 majors. But when you tell them he's only got 4, I think that would throw some people off. This will be a true test, though. I mean, he's from Ireland, or Northern Ireland, sorry. They're out in Scotland right now, so similar conditions that he's grown up to play golf, right? And we're going to see it this week. So does he finally end the 10-year saga and get that 5th major and get it here at the Open this week, or do we got to wait till Augusta, where he just, in my opinion, I don't know if he's ever going to win the green jacket. It's just not a course that he is historically, at least in the last few years, has played well at. So, but the one thing that I really just didn't appreciate, and I know he came out and he apologized and he explained himself, and the logic makes sense, right? If you're in his position, you miss a huge putt to win a major. You don't want to talk to anybody. You just want to get out of there. You're almost trying to forget that it even happened and just move on. And that's really won't even happen. He's probably sat, at home and thought about that, and probably still thinking about it to this day. But the way he, walked off the course, didn't really congratulate Bryson or anything, or even just give him a good fist bump or anything like that. It's just not something that you want to see, especially for a guy like Rory McIlroy, who it really is kind of the face of golf, next to Tiger Woods and some of the other bigger names. And when you think of professional golf, you think of Rory McIlroy. So, it's just not a good uh, representation of professional golf when you see that, because you just don't want these younger generations seeing that and doing that same shit at, USGA junior tournament, amateur tournament, high school, whatever the case is, and essentially almost being a sore loser. So if any younger listeners out there, just be like Rory on the course, but don't do what he did after the round was over. For me, that just I thought that was just a little classless for a guy that's who's not known to be like that. So again, I understand the circumstances there. Everybody goes through that type of stuff in any situation, not just golf. So I get it. And that really brings us here up today. I mean, I know there's a lot that stuff has happened in between with some of the smaller tournaments and certain players that are playing extremely well and stuff like that. We can't cover it all here today, obviously, but I wanted to highlight some of the bigger ones because we are in the last major of the season. So I mean, let's talk about that real quickly. We're now at the Open Championship. We're at Royal Troon in Scotland, 152nd Open. And what do we expect to see at the Open? I mean, it's almost like a U.S. Open. When you're at when you go to a U.S. Open, you're expecting what? Tough, thick, rough, extremely fast greens, or just even not even thick rough, but a lot of out of bounds. If it's not going to be thick rough, it's going to be water and trees, or like this past year was a lot of waste bunkers with that crappy fescue and turtleback greens. And that's just typical U.S. Open, right? That's the pedigree. Well, now let's go a month, 4 weeks later. What's the pedigree of the Open Championship? Well, we know it's not going to be 95 degrees and 100% humidity or something like that, right? I looked at the weather this week. It's going to be between like the mid 50s to maybe mid 60s. It's going to be cloudy. Right now, it looks like there might be rain 3 out of the 4 rounds. If not, it's going to rain definitely all 4 days. It's going to be breezy. I looked yesterday and it looks like it's going to be like 13 to maybe 18 mile per hour gust out there. That's typical Open Championship golf. It's fairly wide open on most of these holes. I was taking a look through some YouTube videos of the breakdown of the course, but typical Open Championship golf, even though it looks wide open because it's link style, if you're not in the fairway, you're in trouble. And what causes that trouble? It's all those big, pot bunkers out there that they got. Because if you're in those little small, I mean, because these aren't your traditional bunkers that we see, especially in like America, around the greens or the big ones in the fairways where you can get out, or you can even get, if you're in a fairway bunker, get on into, so to speak. These are ones that if the ball rolls, because the ball is going to roll through the fairway a long way, more than it does here in the States. If it catches, a little bit of the edge of that pot bunker, it's rolling in. Whether you're in the back of the bunker or you're all the way up in the front, it's still difficult because of, your stance. One can be very awkward. You might not have angles at the greens. So now you got to just punch it out and just take your medicine. Almost like if you're in the trees here in the States, you got to just punch it out, take your medicine, right? Or if you're up against these bunker walls that they're famous for, trying to just swing and hack at it and just let it. I mean, most likely it's just going to pop straight up and hope to God it doesn't catch the front edge and roll right back in. That's the stuff that if these players get into, it just causes trouble. And I think I saw Tiger Woods' quote from his press today that even like I think it's one of the shortest par threes in all professional golf, on at least throughout their schedule, and it's like I think like 125, 128 yard par three that they're going to play this week. And he said it's basic. It's basic golf. Hit the middle of the green one putt birdie, two putt par, get out of there. But he's, with all the conditions, it makes it a lot tougher. I mean, the wind in you, the wind with you, or crosswinds and stuff like that, just all the different factors that come along with the Open Championship make link style golf even more difficult. I think, what was it, back in 2016 or something like that? This was at Royal Troon. This is when we saw Phil and Stenson go back to, head to head, and Stenson ended up being victorious. I think the scores were maybe close to like 14 under throughout the 4 days. Based on the pedigree of the golfers out there today or this week, I'm saying probably right now, don't quote me on it. Obviously, I'm not here to give you guys gambling advice, but I'm guessing right now, winner's going to be between 11 and 13 under is my guess. Last week we saw a lot of the PGA players, not all, but a lot of them play in the Scottish Open. So similar conditions, but the pedigree of the course probably not as what they're going to do this week at Royal Troon. McIntyre, hometown guy, fell short last year, gets it this year. So congrats to him. So a lot of the PGA players do have an extra week or so of practice if they were not already out there practicing, like Tiger Woods and Scottie, who didn't play in the Scottish Open, who haven't played in the last 3-4 weeks, probably flew out a couple weeks early, been playing practice rounds and stuff like that. But my biggest factor here is the live guys. They just played, I think it was like in Portugal or Spain, not a link style course at all. So these live guys, not that they don't know what they're getting themselves into, but they're really not prepped for this. If you're just comparing it from the PGA players who just recently played in the Scottish Open versus the live guys who just played a link style golf in, like I said, I think it was Spain or Portugal. So I don't think a live guy's going to win. I don't think that's the sole factor, though. I think, like Bryson, I don't know if the length helps him here too much. I don't know if it's worth it in driver for him a lot this week, just because I think he really brings in a lot of pot bunkers more into play than a lot of other golfers. It really will be strategic golf. We will see quite a bit of 3 woods and driving irons off the tee, I'm sure. Especially if the wind picks up, these guys are going to try to keep the ball low, and typical golf out there, everything rolls out. So I mean, everything's going to try to roll off the green if you're hitting the middle of the green and stuff like that. So I'm intrigued to see. I don't have an idea of the slightest clue. Who do I think will win? I know guys that I want to win. Always betting with my heart that Tony Finau, Ricky Fowler are going to get their first major, finally get it off the monkey off their back. Ricky, who's just played not so well this year, but Tony, who's played extremely well, and really, I mean, he had a chance at the U.S. Open. It was one hole that really cost him. Does that motivate him to get the U.S. or to get the Open Championship this week? We will see. Rory, like we were just talking about, does he get the 5th major? Do we end the 10-year drought? Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, are we going to see consistent, play for 4 days, in especially JT not be cut after Friday and stuff like that. So, and then the typical, what is Tiger Woods and Phil gonna do? I'm watching clips of Tiger. People are saying he looks good. He's quite, he says he still feels sore and everything else because he's just not playing as often as he needs to keep the body in shape. Phil, I just was watching videos today, him and Grant Horvat in a one-on-one for fun. Phil was hitting a lot of funky shots, typical Phil. Will that translate to the Open? I don't know. I also don't know when they actually recorded that video. I don't think it was within the last week, but yeah. So I don't know who I think is going to win the Open Championship. I might tweet it out or post it on Instagram later, tomorrow or something like that if I have a better idea. But I just want to see, what did we talk about on the last episode? we don't want to see what happened at the Masters, right, where Scottie just ran away, and really we were watching to see who's going to finish second or third. It's like that's not even worth watching. But we want to see PGA Championship and especially the U.S. Open. It came down to the 18th hole. It came down to Xander making that putt on 18, and it came down to Rory missing a putt and DeChambeau hitting an incredible bunker shot to not have to go to a playoff, right? So even though I'm always wanting a playoff. So that's if we get that in the Open Championship, it's going to be a great cap to the 2024 major season here, heading into the FedEx playoffs and the President Cups later this year. All right, so shifting gears slightly, I know we've been kind of like bringing everything up to speed as far as going from beginning of this season to the Open Championship and what's happened in between. Another big news item that dropped earlier last week was the announcement of the new captain of the 2025 Team USA Ryder Cup team, Keegan Bradley. First off, congrats to Keegan. This is a huge honor. I had a lot of different thoughts running through my head when I saw this announcement and I'm listening to part of his press conference and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm just going to go with the first one. The most obvious was my first thought, did they do this because he got snubbed in 2023? I don't know. Again, I'm a huge advocate of he got snubbed. I do not believe Justin Thomas should have made the 2023 team. I know Zach Johnson used a captain's pick on him, so technically he can pick whoever he wants, whether they're the worst golfer in the world or not. It's up to Zach Johnson. And I'm not going to dive into that completely. There was nothing that year leading up to that Justin Thomas did to earn that spot. Keegan Bradley had won. He had played extremely well. That's all I'm going to say. He should have been on the team. But maybe he dodged a bullet because don't even need to get involved in that. Another day, another time. Zach Johnson fucked up. What I thought was really interesting too, I found this out a couple days after this was announced, that the guy that called Keegan to give him the announcement, the one and only Zach Johnson, who, if you watch season 2 of the Swing or whatever it's called, obviously Zach Johnson being the prior captain had to call, was Keegan Bradley's last call to let him know, or second last call technically, I guess, to let him know he has not made the team and that he was the last cut. And Keegan really, that didn't sit well with Keegan Bradley. And like I said, it shouldn't have sat well with him. He did everything he was supposed to do that year to make that team, and like I said, he got screwed. But whatever. That's all behind us. I think this is a phenomenal pick for Team USA. I mean, Keegan Bradley is not only has been a great player over the last 10 or so years, but I would classify him as like the locker room guy. All these he's got great relationships with all different golfers throughout both tours. He's not one of these guys where we've seen him talk badly about the guys that went to live and stuff like that. So I think that's a huge factor for Team USA. Is the team he's going to put out there is going to really gravitate to what he's professing out there and the game plan and everything else. So I think that's a huge portion of this. The other portion is it's at Bethpage. Keegan's played there gazillion. I mean, all these guys have played there, but Keegan's really played there, a billion times because of playing at St. John's and just being from the area. So he's Team USA is going to really benefit from having that knowledge, especially when it comes to the game plan and the matchups and so forth. The other critical piece, this is where I thought Zach Johnson really fucked up in 2023, even though he had one guy. Keegan announced that he's not going to essentially discriminate the LIV Tour in his decision making. It's going to be the best golfers of the best golfers. Now, what does that mean for Team USA though? Because we know the Ryder Cup is still based on the FedEx points, right? So we're going to see the top 6 be PGA players. Unless something changes in the next 2 years or year and a half where they kind of alter that a little bit, that's what's going to happen. The top 6 are going to be from the PGA, where I then now believe he's going to use. I mean, realistically, depending on how next year goes too, he might use 3 to 5, if not the rest of his picks for the live guys. You know, again, it's going to be depending on how performances throughout the season and stuff like that. But I really do see uh, Keegan picking, you know, like Bryson, Koepka, Patrick Reed's another good pick for the Ryder Cup. You know, and there's a few others on the team, you know, younger guys that, you know, could potentially be a captain's pick. So I think that's a huge part. I think that's what, you know, I think that's something that Team USA missed out on in 2023, leaving good talent back at home, essentially. And I mean, granted, I believe, you know, there was all the golfers on Team USA were good, and, you know, the talent was there to win regardless. But this is a huge piece for moving forward for 2025. So right there, I think that is going to be really one of the biggest things. And I mean, ultimately, this, you know, kind of circling back, is this, you know, redemption for being snubbed in 2023. I truly think Keegan's going to use that to motivate his guys, because he's motivated to, hey, I wasn't on this team, you know, and Keegan's been on a couple poor, Ryder Cup teams that hadn't performed well in the past too. So this is going to, I think, really be a benefactor for Team USA overall. He's going to put the best team out there. He's going to really understand the matchups, because he's out there currently playing with all these guys that are both going to be on Team Europe and Team USA. So that's a huge factor there. Um, and then whoever his vice captains are, you know, I truly think we will see it. I really hope we see a dominant Team USA, but and we win. But you know, with the team that I think he'll probably end up constructing, give or take a couple guys, and the team that I'm sure Team Europe will put together, again, also give or take a couple guys, we are going to see, I think, a fantastic Ryder Cup in 2025. Um, I know everybody thinks that this was supposed to be Tiger Woods' team 2025. He's answered a bunch of questions throughout the week, especially today or yesterday, whenever his presser was again. And, you know, he said that it's not the right time. He's consumed in a lot of different things and investments throughout golf and even his personal life and stuff like that. And he just doesn't have the time to dedicate to being a captain the way it needs to, you know, a captain needs to do. So, and you know, I don't think that says that Tiger Woods is never going to be a captain. Maybe he'll be a vice captain. We'll see what Keegan does. But Tiger Woods, I'm sure, will be a captain in the very, very near future. So yeah. So again, congrats to King and Bradley. This is huge news for, like I said, Team USA, and I'm excited to see what happens at that page and 2025 here. And like I said, hopefully Team USA is going to end up winning and regaining the trophy for the Ryder Cup. All right. So, I mean, we really have just been talking big picture items here. Not really an episode where I really want to dive into is a lot of different things that have been going on in golf. I think we'll do that closer to the FedEx playoffs. Really kind of recap the year in its entirety, not only on the PGA level, but highlight the Champions Tour and the Korn Ferry as well. So, you know, just to kind of wrap it up here, you know, like I'm not a you know, I think I say this every episode. I'm not a pro. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an instructor. I don't really like to give too much advice because, you know, whether it doesn't work or works for a short period of time, I don't want to be that guy to be like, hey, that dipshit on Instagram told me to do this and it don't work no more, whatever. But I'm going to give my opinion, my tidbits here and there because this is my platform. I can do whatever the hell I want, right? If you guys want to listen to me about it, go ahead. You disagree, feel free, like I always do. Message me, comment, whatever. I am, I'm always learning. So maybe I'm just looking at it from a perspective that I only see, and I'm not looking at it from someone else's. But so leading into that, we always talk about the things that amateur golfers can do to get better. And I know sometimes I've talked about some of the things that amateur golfers I think should really try to avoid. And one of the biggest ones that has been on my mind as of recently is the whole, because I've lived through this from other people for so long, um, friends and family and so forth. It's the conception that you don't need to go get lessons as long as you just go on YouTube. And I know that's such a generic statement and that it's not completely right. But just going to Instagram or TikTok or YouTube and Google searching, how to hit so and so shot or, how to swing like so and so is just, in my opinion, the worst thing you could do. And I'll explain why. You know, guys that I golf with, we make fun of one guy because he always quote unquote says, swing your swing. But in reality, it's kind of true. Every golfer across the world has a unique swing. Not one swing matches the other. And I know when I was younger, swinging or hitting golf balls, I always would hear comments like, like you're doing this wrong, and you got to do this and this to look like so and so. Now here, and it just whatever. I mean, look at like baseball and it's just different sport. Even how a pitcher throws. We got a gazillion ways to throw a fastball, right? Football, quarterbacks, they all throw in different, slinging their arm different ways and stuff like that. Everything is different. It really shouldn't matter how most of the time we're doing it, as long as we are executing it the way we want to, right? And I kind of feel like that's, really a big piece of amateur golf. People are going on YouTube, like I said, and they're searching, how do I hit the golf ball like Tiger Woods? Or how do I hit the stinger? You tell me the one time that you've used a stinger golf shot in the last 6 rounds, maybe 10 rounds, and if you haven't, then why are you looking it up? And there's just different things. It's not to say that these people on YouTube, like instructors are posting videos on YouTube and training aids and stuff like that, all extremely beneficial and helpful, but you got to do that and continue to practice what they're teaching. Just watching it and then trying to what's the word, kind of adapt it or execute it during your round instead of going to the range and practicing it. I just don't, the benefit for you is just, it's not going to be an all-time high. Because golf is muscle memory. So you need your body and your brain to just continue practicing whatever that drill might be. The other part of it is feel. Now, and I'm guilty of this too. This is why I'm constantly taking a video myself and I'm posting it and seeing if I'm progressing or if I'm degressing, if I'm going one way or the other. And that's the feel part is, you'll watch a video and it will, just for a poor example, is, trying to keep the hands outside and then, drop your elbow, all this stuff and shallowing your swing. Well, you can think you're doing that even at the range. If you don't have somebody behind you or even a camera where you can then look at it and say, oh shit, no, I thought I was doing this, but I clearly wasn't, then what's the benefit? So it is a feel thing. And really the best way to start is golf is the basics. push yourself through the basics of golf, because then you can start understanding a lot more of the technical and more advanced drills and stuff like that as far as how to hit golf balls. And then you can start really expanding, the repertoire, of how to hit certain cuts, draws, and stuff like that, low shots, high shots, shots that will spin a little bit more, shots that might not, spin, not a lot, and so forth, even putting. Just going to a putting green and just putting a ball down and just hitting it one way, then hitting it back. It's like that's not benefiting you. Like a lot of these putting drills that I've been watching this year, because that's been a real struggle for me this year, is doing the different drills that I'm seeing with the tees, and uh, you know, right now I'm doing I'll do like 3 feet and I'll do it from 4 different sides, and I'll probably hit about 20 golf balls, 25, and I'll move to the next, and then we'll back it up to maybe like 6, 7 feet. And then I don't do a lot of these putts because it's really not necessary, but I'll do 12 to 18 feet, 18-foot putts, just because, you will occasionally get those. But, again, it's molding what athletic swing you have to start with. We're not changing just because one golfer does like a Jim Furyk swing to hit a draw. All of a sudden, that doesn't mean that you have to do the Furyk swing. Maybe it will help you, but that doesn't mean you have to do it. Just mold your swing to what you need to fix. If you're slicing the ball, you're coming over the top, or you're opening your face. If you're hooking the ball, you're closing your hands a little, just those little things. If we can switch those or fix those along the way, the overall golf swing and then the overall round of golf, it just improves dramatically. And I mean, I'll reiterate this like a thousand times. I mean, go get lessons, and a professional pro or instructor will be telling you probably the same things or similar things that I'm saying. And hopefully I'm not misrepresenting or misstating stuff, because I do go see a PGA pro for lessons myself. But yeah, so I mean, that's just, again, and again, I want to reiterate, I'm not saying YouTube and Instagram and what these videos that are out there are bad. It's just, you got to look into them with a little bit of a grain of salt, right? Is how they say, so don't just try to mimic what you're watching. Take take the little points from the videos and mesh it with your swing and practice. I mean, I mean, golf is just one of these things where, and maybe I'm a big advocate of practicing because I do like to practice, but just going out and playing a gazillion times and trying to do the changes on the course will just frustrate you a lot more, because in 18 holes you only have so many shots to figure it out, and then in the blink of an eye your round's over. Whether you figure it out or not, who knows, until the next round. And so now you might not be figuring this shit out for like 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds, if not for a lot longer. If you're practicing this on the range and you have, there's so much technology in golf these days to help even the, basic amateur golfers, that it's all at our fingertips and disposal. Even just simply just taking your phone and just either ask somebody next to you on the range, can you record my swing real quick? Or can you record these two? Or, get the tripod out, whatever the case is. Practicing will go a long way. And that's, for the amateur golfers that really want to go to the next level. And again, I was that guy. Right before COVID, I was probably like, I don't know, shooting between 85 to like 92. And COVID hit. I was furloughed for 4 months in the summertime. So I just was going to the range all the time. I was getting probably a lesson once a week, once every other week. I got fitted for new irons, new wedges. I had a driver at the time. even though I've upgraded my driver recently in the last couple of years. And I went from a 13, 14 handicap. I'm down to a 3.8 right now. It was that dramatic for me because of the lessons and the practice and the time I was putting into it. And I'm not getting as many lessons now, but I'm practicing throughout the week all the time, whether it's my putting, chipping, or going to the range and hitting a bucket of balls, and that's just me. And I know not every golfer wants to do that. Not every golfer has the time or wants to put in that kind of time, 3-4 hours a week before they go play around. And I get that. As long as, the mindset is there for that too, because again, you might shoot 88 one day, you might shoot 92 the next, and then you might shoot, 85. It's all plausible, right? But in between rounds, if you're not practicing or really understanding what you're doing wrong and have the knowledge or have somebody tell you how to fix certain things, you can't just expect one round to go completely different than the other in a blink of an eye. That's just not how this works, unfortunately. And again, I'm not an advocate of trying to figure this out on the course. I mean, if you're playing a practice round, whatever, sure. But I mean, if you're playing 18 holes, you're out there with your buddies, you're playing in, whatever, small dollar matches, whatever, trying to figure out your swing and trying to figure out how to do this and that throughout your round, I just don't do it. It will ruin your round and probably your day, because I think truly you'll shoot a lot worse. I think if my only advice would be is just play whatever miss you're doing right there. I mean, if you're missing left, just aim right and just play the miss until you're done with the round, and then go fix it later. That would be my only advice for the amateur golfer. So, like I said, I'm trying to circle back because I keep getting on a tangent here. Like I said, the videos and everything, they're not bad. Just you got to take them with a grain of salt. Mold your swing with what you're trying to, with whatever you're searching and whoever you're watching. All these golfers are out, and instructors, what they're posting and stuff is extremely helpful and beneficial. Again, though, it's all, it's all general, because not every swing is exactly the same. Not every golfer's swing is the same way. So again, this is where I say you got to take what they're saying and mold it into your swing and adapt. And ultimately, I think then you guys will go low. So yeah, so that's all I got for you guys today. Like I said, we got the Open Championship this week. Excited, sad also. Final major of the year. FedEx on their way, and then the President's Cup later this year. And congrats again to Keegan Bradley, and yeah, let's end this summer and season on a high note for all of us. As always, let's go low.
Powered by Riverside.
The F.